Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to talk to you how I use masks in Procreate. I am going to be talking about this in the context of colouring because that is how I use the Procreate app. So I draw colouring pages in Procreate and I also colour colouring pages in Procreate. However, how you use Procreate, whether that's lettering, digital art, whatever it is that you do, these explanations will still apply, so please don't turn off. Hopefully this will still be a useful video for you. So there are three types of masks in Procreate that you can use. There is alpha lock, a clipping mask, and a layer mask. So the first one that I'm going to demonstrate is alpha lock. So to do that, I'm just going to pop in a new layer. So I've set my line art as a reference layer. I always do this. I've popped in a new layer and I'm just going to fill the background behind Alice and the rabbit. So we have that in pink. Now, if I decided to, let's add in some orange. If I decided to add in some orange on this and I just started colouring here, yay! As you can see, it just goes all over the canvas and all the line art beneath is kind of being covered over. So one way to get around this is to go to your layer panel, select alpha lock, and you'll see that it's activated because you'll see a little black and grey kind of checkered background on this layer here. And so then when I come back and I start adding my orange in, which I know looks hideous, but it's just for an example, you can see there that all of the orange has just stayed confined to that original pink background that I popped in. So that's one way to use a mask in Procreate. The upside of this is that it does reduce your layer count. So I'm not sure whether you're aware of this or not, but in Procreate, there are a certain amount of layers that you can have depending on your canvas size. So obviously the bigger the canvas and the higher DPI that you've got, the less layers that you'll be able to work with. So alpha lock is perfect for adding more details and things on areas in your canvas without impacting the amount of layers that you're going to be adding to your Procreate file. Now, it does mean that it's actually harder to manipulate individual elements on this background now because they're all smushed together on the same layer. So one way to get around that would be to use a clipping mask. So I'm just going to undo the orange that I've done there. So if I pop in a new layer and we'll touch here and select clipping mask from the menu, this will essentially give the same effect as what I've just showed you with alpha lock, but what it does mean is that where this new colour is on its own separate layer, I can then manipulate that further by adding blend modes or, changing the colour on that layer without impacting the pink layer beneath it. So we'll go for green this time. So I'm just going to smush that all over the place. There we go. And as you can see, separate layer to the one beneath it, although I've still got alpha lock turned on that, but that wouldn't matter. Now I might think, I would like to maybe play around with the blend modes on this. So I can go to the blend mode panel and just play around with those, and it doesn't do anything to the pink beneath it. Or I might decide to get the smudge tool. Let's turn that off a second. I might decide to get the smudge tool, soft airbrush, and then, blend certain areas here, but that doesn't affect the pink beneath it. And then I can maybe add another layer, select that as a clipping mask, use a different color, pop that in as well. And they're all using this original layer here as a reference. So it achieves the same look as alpha lock, but it's a less destructive way of working. So it enables you to add multiple clipping masks with multiple blend modes and gives you that flexibility to go back and change things or delete things. So I might think, oh, I don't want that green anymore, but I want to keep the yellow. And using a clipping mask allows me to do that. Also, if you do reach your layer count using clipping masks, but you're quite happy with, say, how this section looks, so I might think, yep, the background on my Alice mirror looks perfect, but my layer count's a bit high. I could just select my layers using 2 fingers, smush them together, and it then just goes on one layer. You won't be able to edit this as freely as you did with clipping masks, but it does reduce your layer count and allows you more room to add in more layers. So the final one is a layer mask. This works slightly differently to Alpha Lock and a clipping mask, and I'm going to show you how now. So we'll say on this same layer, tap on it, select mask. I always look for layer mask rather than mask, but yeah, select mask. And what will happen is a new layer will be popped in above the layer that we're working with, and it will be filled with white. Now, white basically means that you're not masking anything, you're showing everything that is on this layer here. So if I started colouring in with black on the layer mask, black will then conceal things from the layer beneath. So if I just, I've already got black selected, and make sure that you're on your layer mask. If I start doing this here, it almost looks like it's erasing bits from my pink and yellow layer, but it's confined to this layer mask. So actually, if I turned off that layer mask, you can see that the layer beneath it is still completely fine. Nothing has happened to it. So a layer mask is a really great way to manipulate a layer without actually permanently removing things from it. I often use this when I'm drawing a page, and I might say draw in these beads and think, I'm not sure if I actually like those. So I might use a layer mask to just quickly cover them up and see how the design looks without that certain element. And then if I think, oh, actually I preferred it with the beads in place, then I can just turn that layer mask off. So I'll just turn this layer mask on again. So as I said, you can see on here, the black is erasing or concealing stuff on this pink and yellow layer here. But I can go back in and I can use white to go over these sections again, and it will then reveal things from the layer beneath it. And also you can use shades of grey, and this will give you a kind of opaque covering of things, so it's kind of half revealed, half concealed. And again, it's just really easy to undo. If I just want to have this layer look how it did before, I can just turn off that layer mask. I'm going to delete that. So I'll show you that again, but in the context of my line art. So I'll do that bead demonstration. So on my line art, I'm going to select mask, and making sure that this layer is selected, the mask layer. I'll select black, and as I said before, black conceals. Just change my airbrush over. I'm just going to start removing these beads because I've decided that I don't like them anymore. So there you can see that those beads have been removed. But it's all confined to this layer mask, and it's not actually editing the original layer. So I can bring those beads back in 2 different ways. I can turn the layer mask off, and there they are. Or I can pop that back on, select white, and just colour back in over that area. You can see on the layer mask that there's no black on there anymore, and the beads are there again. So layer masks, again, are a really non-destructive way to work and to experiment with things, adding, removing, refining, modifying your layers. But again, it does increase your layer count, so just be aware of that when you use them. And hopefully that's kind of helped cover the basics of masks. But if you do have any questions, then please let me know in the comments and I will do my best to help you. And also, if you like the look of this colouring page, this is the sort of thing that I create every month for my Creative Happy Life Club members. They get a colouring page, a digital art file, planner, pages, and just behind the scenes goodies from myself. If that sounds like something that is interesting to you, then please check the description below because there will be a link to find out more about how you can join. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you found this useful and I look forward to seeing you in my next video.